Okay, the essential question for this lesson, how do we write equations of lines in standard form? So recall there were three forms of a linear equation. Okay, we've been working with slope-intercept form. And remember that's y equals mx plus b, so we did a little bit of that with standard 5, and we've done a little bit with standard 6. Last time we talked about point-slope form. We have y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, where you need a slope and a point and just plug them in, and so that's a different form of a linear equation. Today we are going to discuss standard form. So standard form is an equation that's in the form of ax plus by equals c. Notice this one has an a, b, and c, different variables than you have in the other two equations. There is no m, so where in slope-intercept form and point-slope form you have the slope in both of those equations, this one does not have a slope. You have to rewrite it in one of the other formats to figure out what the slope is. So a, b, and c are just integers. So let's take a look at an example. So we're going to write two equations in standard form that are equivalent to x plus 4y equals 3. So in this example, we're just working with the standard form equation, making some changes, getting different equations that are basically the same thing. The way we are going to do this is to multiply or divide all the parts by the same value. And you get to pick which values you want to use. So I have chosen for my first number -2. So basically you just take the whole equation and you're just going to multiply the whole equation by -2. And the way you do this is by distributing. It gets you a different equation that is equivalent to the one you started with. So -2x minus 8y equals -6. It did say to write two equations. So I'm going to pick another number, just any number I want to use. You could use 500, 23, -65. You could use fractions, 1/2. This time I chose 3. So I'm going to distribute the 3 into the equation x plus 4y equals 3. And we get 3x plus 12y equals 9. So I've got two equations with different numbers, but they are equivalent to the one that we started with. So note, when you are doing this, you want to show all your work and show what you multiply or divided by. And when I say divide, basically that means you're multiplying by a fraction. So you have to show what you are multiplying by every time you do this. So I showed you here I was multiplying by 2, here I'm multiplying by 3, and then I show you what the equation is when it is complete. Next example. We're going to write an equation in standard form of the line through the point 2, 2 and 4, -2. So to do this, we are going to first find the slope. So m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Don't forget to always write down the slope formula before you start plugging in numbers. So now I'm going to plug in my numbers, -2 minus 2 over 4 minus 2. So remember at the top, I have an x1, y1, x2, y2, so those are where my numbers came from. On the top we have -4, on the bottom we have 2. So our slope is -2. The next step is to either use point-slope form or slope-intercept form. So remember, point-slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Your slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Both of them will get you to standard form, but you have to start with one of these two. So if I use the point-slope form, all I need is my slope, which we found in the previous part, and a point, x1, y1, which we have up here on top. And you can use either point. I'm just using the 2, 2 because I labeled the 2, 2, x1, y1. But if you want, you could use the 4, -2 if you like. So I'm going to plug those in. So y minus 2 equals my m is negative 2, x minus 2. That is my point slope form. Slope-intercept form. We need to find the b. We already have the m. Those are the two numbers that we need, the m and the b. Remember, the b is the y value of your y-intercept. I have my slope, so I'm going to plug it in. The slope is negative 2. And then I need to find the b, so I'm going to use one of the other points. Doesn't matter which point you use. I'm going to go ahead and use this one this time. So my y is negative 2. Negative 2 times the x, which is 4, plus b. And then solve for b. So negative 2 equals negative 8 plus b. Add 8 to both sides. And you get 6 is equal to b. And then write your final equation. Y equals negative 2x plus 6. So that is my slope-intercept form. So I have slope-intercept form. And over here, we have point slope form. Now, our third step is to rewrite in standard form. So I'm going to do my point slope first. Y minus 2 equals negative 2 times x minus 2. And we're going to rewrite it to get it into standard form. Now is when we can actually distribute the negative 2. So we have y minus 2 equals negative 2x plus 4. Remember, negative 2 times negative 2 is a positive 4. I'm going to add the 2 to both sides. So I get y equals negative 2x plus 6. Hopefully you notice at this point the equation that I have here is the same as the equation I had in my slope-intercept form. So you can take point slope and rewrite it so it looks like slope-intercept. We want standard form, which means your x and y are on the same side. So we have a little further to go where I want to get the x part on the same side with the y. So we will add the 2x to both sides. And I get 2x plus y equals, my negative 2x and plus 2x equals 0. So it just equals 6. So I have ax plus by equals c. So it's in the correct format. This is my standard form. On the other side, where I started with my slope-intercept form, I want to change it to standard form. So I'm going to add the 2x to both sides. I have to get the x on the same side. And I have 2x plus y equals 6. Notice I get the exact same equation regardless of which method I used. But to get to standard form, you have to start with your point slope or your slope-intercept to get to standard form. You have to start there, get a slope-intercept or a point slope form, and then rewrite so that they are in standard form. That is the only way to get to standard form when you're given those 2 points. Next example. Find the missing coefficient in the equation of the line shown. Write the completed equation. So this is our process. We're going to plug a point into the equation for x and y. So if you look over here to the right, I have an equation, ax plus 4y equals 6, but I'm missing one of my numbers in front of my variable. So I need to have a number in front of the x, and I don't. So I have to find what a is equal to. So I have ax plus 4y equals 6. So my first step says to substitute a point into the equation. So I was given a point. Here's my point right there. 2, 0. So the 2 is my x. The 0 is the y. So I'm going to plug that in. So my a times the x value, which is 2, plus 4 times the y value, which is 0, equals 6. So then you simplify this. So a times 2 is the same as 2a. 4 times 0 is 0. equals 6. Divide both sides by 2, and you get a is equal to 3. So now I know what the a is. Okay, so that's what we did second. We solved for a. Third, once you get your a, you need to write the completed equation. So basically, we're going to rewrite this equation over here, except I'm going to plug my number in for a. So we're going to substitute a is equal to 3x plus 4y equals 6. That is the final equation. Don't forget to put the x and the y back in there. That's what your equation should look like. Okay, next is some practice. So remember, on the left-hand side of your notebook, do these 3 practice problems. There's one of each type of the 3 examples that we looked at. And then we'll do some more practice in class next time.